So let's start back there actually with hiring because these early hires, especially in a business like this where you consider yourself to be the expert, it's drawing from you, in your case, your recipes. So this isn't just any hire. How did you approach an early hire where this was probably as much a business issue as it was an emotional issue for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I hire people, I don't always just look at who has a ton of experience in the world of baking. It's more an attitude and a drive and the willingness to want to learn. And so many of the people that started the business with me and worked with me, and some of them still work with me today, they had no baking experience. Some of them had worked in kitchens, but never had done baking. And so I can quickly see within, we always do a trail when we are hiring people. So they come in and they work with us for usually 3 to 4 hours. And as much as it is our way of seeing if they're the right fit, it's also a way for them to see if they want to be there too. But during that time, I'm looking for someone that has good intuition. They're super proactive. They're when they're done with the task, they're already asking, what can I do next? Or they're already jumping in without asking to do something to help somebody else. It's an attitude.
This, by the way, feels a little counterintuitive, I bet, for a lot of people, because what I think a lot of folks in those early hire days in a passion based business think is I need to find someone who has done exactly this
Hmm.
work and is a master at this thing.
Hmm.
And what you're saying is actually don't do that
No.
because, well, actually, I have a hypothesis, which is that if you find that person, then they are going to come and they're going to do their thing the
Right.
way that they know how to do it. But what you're looking for is actually someone who can be crafted into an extension of you, which means that they need the right raw material as learners and skilled people, but they also need to be in a position to be molded by you. And so you're looking for that. Am I right?
Absolutely. And I've seen that time and time again where, I get resumes for people that have really extensive pastry background and they come in and they tell me they want to just start their own bakery. And as
Mm.
much as I admire that because that was once me, I know that maybe the focus isn't going to be on helping me grow and sustain my business, and that they're kind of just looking to learn from me and then just get out and do their own thing.
Yeah.
And so it's about looking for hardworking people that have speed and have the passion, but also just, again, it's this intuition. And I can tell within the first few minutes really of someone being in the kitchen if they've got that it factor or not. And It's just that drive and that intuition.
A lot of people who build passion based businesses don't have anything down on paper. They just know how to do it
Right.
themselves. And so the ideas are in their head and the processes are in their head. And therefore, if somebody does join the team, they don't know what to do and they certainly don't feel empowered to do something. So you had mentioned a little bit earlier that this is about training, but it's also about systems. And I'm wondering what you have found or what you teach others about how to take this knowledge that's in your head and turn it into something that is actually replicatable by other people.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm still working on myself. I mean, we have grown so much in the past 6 years, and a lot of our training is super hands on because of just the nature of what we're doing. And also because I'm working with people from all different cultures and walks of life and levels of education, and people that don't even speak the same language as me. So a lot of it is truly tactical, work experience and working together. But as we're kind of entering this next stage of growth, my management team and I have discussed, we need some SOPs, some standard operating procedures put down on paper, because now we sort of know what works, what doesn't work. So we're putting together these more formal job descriptions, and whether it's also like cleaning, how do you clean the mixers, how do you bake the items, and have, although like I said, there's a level of intuition with baking, because every oven is different, every day is different based on the temperature of the air and the time of year. But there's some level of, there's a base there, and then we kind of need to be able to adjust on a daily basis. And so we're now putting together these SOPs to make sure that there is some formal, physical manual that people can first read when they start. And then again, a lot of it's going to be more hands-on experience from there.
What have you guys been doing to try to standardize the way in which things are operated? Because it sounds like in many ways you're still in that transition where everything isn't stuck in your head now, but everything is stuck in a lot of people's heads.
It is. Yeah, I mean, it's again, for me, I'm actually not a naturally organized person. And so it was hiring the right people to help me do that. So my director of operations, Angelina, is super organized. And more administrative. And so together we kind of come together and kind of figured out what each, like I said, break it down by job, and what each day looks like, which can vary, but what are their main duties, and how you do those duties well, and then break it down further. Again, like, how do you clean a mixer? How do you work this particular oven? How do you work this particular oven? How to packing, it's another big thing. We have people that are just packing the baked goods every day. So how do you do that properly, to avoid breakage, to make sure that everything remains fresh? And we are just putting together these, like I said, these standard operating procedure documents that just sort of break it down in layman's terms. And then from there, we're able to show people, in person, how to execute it. But
Yeah.
it's a challenge, because like I said, a lot of the people don't speak English, or it's minimal. And so we're teaching people from, they're all walks of life, all levels of education, and we need to make sure that it's straightforward for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how has your own experience of building all this in the early days, let's just say you risk teetering onto burnout as you were trying to build all this yourself. What has been your experience as a founder as you have brought in these hires and then run into the next problem, which is how to train them and how to standardize things and how to make this more efficient? I mean, do you feel like you are stretched too thin still? Do you feel like you have found your place in the business, and how?
hmm So for me, I have this like light at the end of the tunnel theory, as I call it,
Hmm.
because I worked in hotels a lot of my career where there was no light at the end of the tunnel. So I was always just working endless hours, and most weekends and holidays, and there just never seemed to be that light, or something to look forward to. And as someone who's a really family oriented person, who likes to have some work life balance, and that really drives me, uh, when I started my business, I wanted to make sure everybody had that. And so, I always make sure I schedule, as much as I'm scheduling meetings and, projects for work, I'm also scheduling um my life, and making sure that I always have stuff to look forward to outside of here, and that my team also has a light at the end of the tunnel. And so, people always ask me, why don't you have a retail store? You do great, because we're mostly wholesale and online. And it was partly because I knew that I had flexibility, and that we could have some more work life balance, and that most weekends I probably wouldn't have to work. And my team, except for when we have big projects going on, sometimes people will come in for a few hours on a weekend, whatever. For the most part, people work 5 days a week, and most of the time they have their weekends off, which is unheard of in a hospitality based business. And so, um, I that's part of our culture that I think has been so important, um, through and through, because people it's not easy what we do. I would say it's not easy bake oven. It's high volume business. It's really physical. It's super demanding on the day to day, and you have a 30-minute break, and beyond that, you're running. But there's always that light at the end of the tunnel, and so that's something that was really important to me when I was doing this. That no matter how much work we had or I had, that I would make sure I scheduled that personal time because it motivated me and it would encourage me to keep going in the business as well.